R.I.P. Dolly Parton. I was heavily inspired by her music as somebody who had a career like Elvis Presley, himself. All right, I understand that her music took a lot, intricate, and it played off a concept. It played off a concept. What you don't know about, Dolly's music is that she was playing off the strings 1, 2, 3, 4, but at a maximum level to a point where everybody loved her. Some people even say this is running away from her uncle because how successful she is at fooling people in the music industry. Because what you don't know about Dolly is that she's country. In order for country people to appeal to a wide, audience of people, they have to have, a universal sound that a modern person can click into. And a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people literally see country, they say, redneck, literally, and they do a whole lot of shit. My mom's not even, a fan of her, but she knows who she is. My mom looks like confetti, she thinks like confetti. And, the thing about me is I understand, where Dolly is coming from. I used to, imitate her, her style of music, a certain way, back when I was partying with girls, okay? Literally, girls just want to have fun. Yeah, I know how to flip it. I know how to flip, Dolly Parton's music, okay? And, that was a critical thing, as a music career, side by side, I was waiting for her, literally, to terms because, people in her generation have good health, right? Literally, I'm like, oh, Dolly's not gonna go down, literally this and that. I even saw the documentary of her, literally in her hit single, and what ends up happening, is that I couldn't, keep up to date, with her, due to the gang stalking, Oodie Booty do. How somebody tries to keep the same reputation? What happened, is her hit singles really went on and off to me, but I got the concept of her, and I kept up for her, when I was 28, and she died, just recently, and, it's not good because she's cool, all right, literally, and she is bad, big ass titties, it's true, fucking literally, I'm in college right now myself. Really, there are girls, all around campus. Literally, they were doing exactly the same shit that I was doing. Literally, they were hanging out, skipping her classes. All right, literally, and what I look at that shit, I'm like, I just think about, another time, think about the relationship with my daughter. Okay, but in all actuality, when I was begging just like her, I understood literally what she was going down. So literally, I was right next to this nigga. I mean, I was right next to her, and it hurt. It hurt because literally I thought she was gonna be one of her generation to survive, but she didn't. And, the reason why I loved her, was because, she kept it real, she had street strategy like a Luciano. She kept it real with people, she put 1 cent, out there, literally, the full people, like, Everson Brett Michaels, she did all that shit, she honestly, she said her boobs were a distraction. And guess who I looked up, right after that to let you know I keep it up with shit, Pamela Anderson, I'm telling you, going hand in hand, is truth, I want you to understand that, I was really happy, that I had, a handful of information, I'm still going through shit, people are still pretending, that I didn't keep up with her music, literally, it hit me with 9 to 5 out of nowhere, I'm like, get the fuck out of here, alright, literally, so, I'm just saying, like, Bubella Big Guns, it's true, I'm 31 years old, I don't give a fuck, she was just as good as, a normal R&B singer, so, R.I.P, Dolly Patron, Dolly Patterson, really, but, I don't give a fuck, get the fuck out of here, rest in peace, my doll.